Tools you will need for this project are marker pens and a chalk line are used to lay out the mortar lines for your brick or block pattern. An assortment of wire brushes are used to add texture to the foam. Used brushes usually work the best, having a more random bristle pattern. Custom brushes may also be made. This one is used to make puncture marks for a pitted look. A Styrofoam shaver or coarse rasp can be used to shape foam, round edges, and add depth. Rotary tools are useful for making mortar lines, cracks, and gouges. A cone-shaped polishing tool is ideal for mortar lines, leaving very little mess. Personal protection. When using tools, paints, and solvents, always use the proper personal protection equipment. Acetone may be used to add texture. When using acetone, always use in a well-ventilated area with a proper respirator. Acetone is flammable. Absolutely no smoking or open flame. A heat gun may also be used for surface texturing. The heat gun will leave a more rounded texture and a tougher surface. Paint sprayers. For this project, we will be using a standard compressed air sprayer. For a larger project, an airless sprayer will work best. An airbrush will also be used for detail painting. Painting tools such as a hard paint roller, paint brushes, and a sea sponge can be used to achieve the desired effect. In this example, we will be making a section of wall with the appearance of granite blocks. This style works well in dungeons and castle walls. Marker pens and a chalk line are used to lay out the mortar lines for your brick or block pattern. If your styrofoam is 1 inch or less, it may have a protective film applied to both sides of the board. This is to give the board added strength. You will need to remove it from the side you will be working with. The mortar lines are then laid out using a straight edge and marker or a chalk line. The line could also be drawn by hand for a more random sized block. The extruded polystyrene boards used in this video come in many different colors. Any available color will work fine, but it must be the extruded form, not the expanded foam board. The expanded foam board is the white beaded styrofoam commonly used as packing material. The expanded foam will not react the same to the acetone and heat processes used in this demonstration. In this step, we will use our rotary tool with the polishing tip to make the relief lines for the mortar. The thickness of your styrofoam will limit the depth of relief you can put in your stone without going through. We have found 3/4 inch to 1 inch thick boards work well and will help keep the cost down. When block pattern has been cut out, cracks and gouges are cut in. These will be smoothed and blended later with a wire brush. An assortment of wire brushes may be needed to achieve the desired effect. Older used brushes will give a more random pattern than a newer brush. The brush may be pulled across the surface to make cracks and scratches, or pounded like a hammer to leave a pitted or porous texture. Again, we use our Dremel tool to carve out the cracks. Remove material where holes and depressions will be made. And add other surface textures. We then use a wire brush to remove more material, blending the cracks and contours. Keep in mind at this point that the acetone treatment in the next step will exaggerate everything you do now. Be careful not to go too deep. Caution: acetone is highly flammable. Use only in a well-ventilated area with proper personal protection. Read and follow all instructions and warnings on the container. Be sure your spray bottle is compatible with acetone. Test with a small amount before filling your spray bottle. Always label your bottle and return any unused acetone to the container after use. Use only in small amounts and allow fumes to disperse. The panel is cleaned with a soft brush or air, removing all loose debris. A coarse spray of acetone is then applied. Use a very small amount and work slowly, giving the acetone time to dissolve the styrofoam and exaggerate the stone's surface. A small amount of acetone goes a long way. Work in small sections, allowing time for fumes to clear. And yes, you must wear a respirator when using acetone. The amount of acetone you will be using will vary with the temperature it is being used at. Higher temperatures will cause the acetone to evaporate before it can work for you. Always do your acetone work in a cool, well-ventilated area. Allow panel to dry thoroughly before painting. The flat black paint can be thinned with water to help penetrate the pores better. If the scene will be used outdoors, we recommend using exterior latex paints. You may also want to add another coat to increase the outdoor durability. If this will be used in an indoor scene, we recommend adding flame retardant to your paints. An airbrush will be used to color our mortar. This step may also be done with a small brush, but an airbrush will be much faster. An inexpensive single-action airbrush will be sufficient for this work. For the final detail painting, you will need a palette to mix your paint on and a sea sponge. The paints are blended on the palette until the desired colors are achieved. Don't overmix, your colors will run together too much. The paint is dabbed onto the board to leave a mottled look. Paint each block individually, varying the color slightly with each block. A rag may also be used in place of a sea sponge, giving a similar effect. The paint color you use and your lighting must work together. Final scene painting should be done under the actual scene lighting for the best results. If the lighting you are working under is too bright, you may be doing more work than is needed to get the desired effect. In this demonstration, we will make a sample of brick wall. This type of brick works well for fireplaces and cellar walls. First, we'll lay out the mortar lines. Then, using the rotary tool and polishing bit, carve out the mortar relief. In your scene, you may want to use a chalk line to mark your horizontal lines. Then go directly to the rotary tool, cutting the vertical lines by eye. The wire brushing on this type of brick differs from the granite block in that most of the lines will be horizontal, with the surface staying relatively flat. Puncture marks are made in the surface to give a porous look. A heat gun set to high heat is now used to melt the surface you've roughed up. Hold the heat gun close, moving it across the surface so you don't overheat one spot. As the surface heats, it will start to contract and melt, exaggerating your lines and leaving a hard surface. Work fast, but be careful. Heat guns get very hot. Melted plastic is also very hot. If you touch them, you will get burnt. Do not use the heat gun and acetone in the same room or scene. Caution: acetone is highly flammable. Use only in a well-ventilated area with proper personal protection. Read and follow all container instructions and warnings. A coarse spray of acetone is then applied. Use a very small amount and work slowly, giving the acetone time to dissolve the styrofoam and exaggerate the stone's surface. A small amount of acetone goes a long way. Work in small sections, allowing time for fumes to clear. Here we can see the difference between the acetone treatment on the top and the heat gun treatment on the bottom. The acetone has a sharper edge and more detail, but much of this is lost when it's painted. The flat black paint can be thinned with water to help penetrate the pores better. If the scene will be used outdoors, we recommend using exterior latex paints. You may also want to add another coat to increase the outdoor durability. If this will be used in an indoor scene, we recommend adding flame retardant to your paints. An airbrush will be used to color our mortar. This step may also be done with a small brush, but an airbrush will be much faster. An inexpensive single-action airbrush will be sufficient for this work. A base coat is now put on using a hard roller. Using a palette with several different colors will help give some variations in color and a more natural look. A sea sponge can then be used for additional coloring and detail. In some scenes, you may want more than one type of stone, using contrasting colors and textures to accent the feature or to trim around a window or a door. For this work, we will use the expanded polystyrene foam. The foam is cut to the desired size and shaped using the Styrofoam shaver. This step will create a huge mess, not unlike an exploded beanbag chair. You will want to have a shop vac on hand for cleanup. Use the shaver to rough up the entire surface, adding gouges and chips to give an aged appearance. The piece is now cleaned and a base coat of flat black latex paint is applied. If the scene will be used outdoors, we recommend using exterior latex paints. You may also want to add another coat to increase the outdoor durability. If this will be used in an indoor scene, we recommend adding flame retardant to your paints. The trim is then painted with a sea sponge or rag to achieve the final color. In this video, we have shown you just a few of the basic techniques for using styrofoam in your scenes. The large panels are first glued to the walls, followed by the trim. Be sure to use a glue that's compatible with styrofoam, as some will dissolve the foam, resulting in poor adhesion. Whether you do your styro work in place, on the walls, or off will depend on the scene you are building. Adding Spanish moss and spider webbing may enhance your scene. Lighting will play a major part in your scene, so plan your colors to take advantage of it. Using only enough glue to hold your panels in place will allow you to remove your panels and reuse them in another scene. Bad Boy's Scenic design hopes the information in this video will help you build more detailed and realistic scenes. For more information, contact us at info@terroronthefox.com.
Yeah, that's the stuff.